Alright, back again, and today the video that I'd like to do is something that I normally don't do here, but I figured I'd give it a shot. This is actually a response video, or a little added information video, I suppose, to MN12BIRD's Game Boy Color review. And he had mentioned that the Game Boy Color comes in different colors, and since I had a few of them laying around, I figured I'd show them off. Here is the teal colored one. This is the pink color, yellow, and this one's kind of like the transparent purple that he was mentioning. The other things that he talked about were the Game Boy Color games, and I actually do have some of those. For example, this is what the Game Boy Color games look like, and as he had mentioned before, the Game Boy Color games do not have the notch cut out on the side here, and unfortunately, if you try to put it into a regular Game Boy, it won't work. So, just to give you an idea here, here's an original Game Boy, and we'll try and pop that in here. And although the size matches up pretty well, like he had mentioned before, you just can't turn the power on. The switch won't go over, which is kind of unfortunate or kind of strange. Because I always wanted to see, you know, if a Game Boy Color game could work on an original Game Boy. I'm always trying to do, you know, kind of crazy stuff like that, and seeing how much stuff is backwards compatible, what things will work. And when I was looking through my games collection, I also came across this, and this is a Game Boy Color game. It's Wario Land 2. But if you notice the case itself, it has that notch cut out, and it's actually the same, exact same as the original Game Boy cartridge. So I figured, you know, hey, what the hell, it's the same size, might as well pop it in there and see if it works. So, take our Game Boy here, we'll pop that in, and looks like we're getting a little bit of kind of jarbled stuff here. Let's try it one more time. Well, still not working. Alright, there we go. Took a couple of times, but as you can see, it is playing the Game Boy Color games. Kind of start it up here. Start this up. Kind of. I don't know if you can get a really good picture on that or not, but it is playing the Game Boy Color game, which is kind of interesting. So I figured, well, hell, if this is a Game Boy Color game and it's playing this, then aside from that tab being there, it should be able to play the other Game Boy Color games. So what I did is, not this one, but I took another Game Boy that I had, and with this Game Boy, what I did is I removed the switch up at the top, and I just removed it, something I can put back in, so I didn't do any damage to it. But for example, we'll take our Game Boy Color here, and Game Boy Color game, pop that in, and this is kind of cheesy, but take a screwdriver to turn the power switch on, and you can see the logos coming up. But actually, when you see the game itself, over here in Japanese, it says that this game software is for Game Boy Color only. And that's all it says. It says this game is basically for Game Boy Color. And, you know, it comes up to this far, but it won't go anywhere past this. So I figured, okay, well, there's one, you know, so I'm going to turn this off and take this one out. And I had a few of them, so I figured I might as well give them a shot. Here is Donkey Kong 2001, so I figured I'd give that a shot too. And pop that in, turn that one on. And this one also says, it says in Japanese, it says that this game is only for the Game Boy Color, and please turn off your Game Boy and put it into a Game Boy Color. That's, you know, what that one said. So I was starting to think to myself, these green colored case ones are actually a little bit different than this one here. Which, even though it's a Game Boy Color game, yeah, it still will work in the Game Boy itself. And then finally, you know, I had another game around, so I had Grandia, so pop that in. And Grandia says the same thing. It just says that this game is not intended for a Game Boy. It is a Game Boy Color cartridge. So, just to give you some insight here, it looks like there are some games that are Game Boy Color that can work on the Game Boy. But I believe that Wario Land 2 was actually one of the last releases in this kind of format for the Game Boy Color. Then they started switching over to a lot of these clear case ones. But I might be wrong on that. I don't have any other ones that are like this. But one thing I do know for sure is that you cannot play these green-colored case ones without the cutout in them. Even if you were to remove the switch itself and put them in, they won't work. But if you have something like this that looks like the original cartridge, has that notch cut out, it will work. So, or it should work, hypothetically speaking. But anyway, that's just a little bit of some added information for the Game Boy Color video that MN12BIRD had put up. And if you aren't subscribed to that guy, you should, because he puts up a really a lot of good videos, and he really knows his stuff with hardware. So, like always, I'll put up another video here soon. So, thanks for watching.